Hey, how's it going, everyone? Just want to do a quick video on an email interaction with a representative from Ravi Zacharias International Ministries. So this is an Indian guy who's, I would say, probably maybe the best known Indian, Christian, I guess, worldwide. I'm trying to think of anybody else. He's wrote many books. The most famous one that I know of is called Jesus Among Other Gods, and all that. And he's a apologist, itinerant apologist, somebody who travels around and defends the Bible, Christianity, and all that kind of stuff. And I know him personally, as I'll get into in this email exchange. So I just reached out through his website, just kind of getting a beat, a pulse on what their beliefs are, because most of the time he's just talking about sort of mainstream topics, faith, homosexuality. I've even seen a video recently on transsexuals, atheism. He debates a lot of atheists, other religions, obviously, because of his book, Jesus Among Other Gods, contrasting, comparing, the Bible versus other religions and all that stuff. So sort of, I would say, safer topics than, something like flat earth, for example. So I was just curious. I reached out and I asked, emailing Arzim, are you all teaching the biblically based cosmology of a flat/stationary earth? And so I get a response from this individual, Trina Doffelmeyer. She's like, Dear Shrag, thank you for your email to Arzim. I'm responding on behalf of the ministry. I was kind of amazed that I even got a response, but it looks like it's a canned response just from, the structure of the email. Mr. Zacharias has not addressed this particular issue in his speaking and writing. Therefore, I cannot offer you specific resources from him. This is by design. Obviously, if he did, and, people coming from the science angle, like the Rileys and stuff, or the religious folks from the Bible, like Flat Earth Doctrine and other people, he would get annihilated from both sides. I do know that Mr. Zacharias does believe in the spherical earth. However, I can share some thoughts that may be helpful to you. So here we go. Here comes the Sermon on the Mount from, again, a woman, which, again, the Bible's 100% antichrist. A woman should not be teaching, certainly, me anything or anybody about the Bible and representing a, quote, Christian ministry through email or otherwise. But here we go. When we desire to interpret what a particular Bible verse or passage teaches, the surrounding context is vital to determine the meaning. In addition, when we are studying a particular topic, we need to look at what the entire scripture says regarding that specific topic to gain a complete understanding of God's heart on the matter. The entire Bible, from beginning to end, supports a flat stationary earth. It does not support a tilted, spherical, oblate earth at all, moving in any direction. God wrote our scriptures through humans in a particular era of history and through the means available at the time. So now she's speaking on behalf of God directly. This is amazing. He used whatever types of literature or illustrations would be understandable to the original audience. Christians must be careful not to force contemporary definitions back on words or phrases used in an ancient context. This is really the whole thing that's going on. It's the Bible is antiquated. Just take little parts here and there that are useful for us in this culture, this society, and nothing more. That's what she's recommending for quote-unquote Christians. God used Hebrew or Greek idioms, here we go, hyperbole, figures of speech, and even poetry to write the Bible. This is what's going on. People like the Plain Truth, Pete Shea, and all these other, in my opinion, Satanists, that's what they would say. They would reaffirm this. After we determine what a verse or passage meant to the original audience, then we can build a bridge for meaning into our own culture. Here we go. This is what's going on. It's God's invited to dinner sometimes. That's what's going on. Once in a while, God will invite you over, but don't say too much. Don't talk a lot, and we'll address you when you're needed. That's the vibe of Christianity on earth right now, which is the deepest form of Satanism. The most satanic people on earth right now are these type of Christians. It's not actually the atheists. Atheists are just being atheists. They don't believe in God. A lot of them don't have a reason to believe in God, and they're just carrying on their merry old way. And not all of them are that evil. A lot of them are helping other people out and speaking out against the evil structures in the world. So I give some of them a bit of a pass relative to these Satanists who try and dictate what God means and what he's allowed to say and speak into our quote-unquote culture. And so after we determine what a verse, here we go, after we determine, let me read that again, after we determine what a verse or passage meant to the original audience, then we can build a bridge for meaning into our own culture. I'll read that again. After we determine what a verse or passage meant to the original audience, then we can build a bridge for meaning into our own culture. In addition, we must always read the Old Testament in light of Jesus Christ, who is himself the fulfillment of the law and the prophets, which essentially means that don't read it. The primary point of Scripture, here we go, this is a powerful statement. The primary point of Scripture is not to speak in an encyclopedic manner about matters of science. It is. Science just means knowledge, to know. So, of course, at the root of it, the Bible is a science book. It's a health book. It's a financial book. It's a everything book. It's how to behave. It's how to prioritize our life. It's what to laugh at, what's funny, humor. It touches every aspect of our life. It has to. It makes a bold claim that the God of it is stands by himself. The human authors of the Bible would have had an ancient cosmology. Here we go. So now it's not God that authored it, which I'm surprised that they would even take this stance, knowing a little bit about Ravi. But the human authors of the Bible would have had an ancient cosmological view of the earth, which would have been quite different from our own. Yet in spite of this, God inspired these authors to write about God's presence and God's redemptive work in the world. Yet in spite of this. So the people of old, Joshua, all these heroes of the faith, they could speak to the sun and tell it to stop. Don't take them seriously. In spite of this, God inspired these authors to write about God's presence and God's redemptive work. In Joshua 10:12-14, the sun and the moon stood still, and it's never happened again in human history and will never happen according to the Bible. That's a man of God, not Trina Doffelmeyer, who's a clown, representing another clown, but this is Satan. This is the work of Satan in this email. This is the knowledge and insight they were given. So these people were not able to look up and comprehend the fact that the sun was there for the entire day, for a full 24-hour period. They were not smart enough to. But the Freemasons and all these ministries and 501c3s, they're able to understand this, our reality. This is the knowledge and insight they were given. The purpose of Scripture is to reveal God and his plan of salvation to us. Here we go. They don't even know what salvation means, and they're already assuming that they're saved, which no one knows. Anybody who says that they're saved is essentially Satanist. Whoever says that. First of all, not many people even know. We don't even fully know what that means. And second, there's absolutely nowhere in the Bible that says, assume that a person's saved. God makes that decision. And he made it unilaterally. He didn't consult us. He made us. He didn't ask us about our opinion on salvation, what it means, when it will happen, how it will happen, and to whom it will happen for. That's for God to decide. So again, these people are proving that they're Satanists with every single sentence. Here are some articles from other apologetical websites that discuss the flat earth theory. They're calling it a theory. It's obviously a reality. From a Christian perspective, including discussions on the Hebrew words translated earth and other phrases in our English Bibles. I read through them, and I mean, this was a couple years ago. I think it was 2016. Some of these were published. So they're behind, on the advancements and tests and stuff that are happening. Super looming, all the discoveries that have been made. There are plenty of tests that show that a flat water bodies for many, many miles. We're not talking about 2 or 3 miles. We're talking 20, 30 miles of flatness. Not addressing that. They just go into the usual. Look at the shadows cast on the moon. Look at the travel, the movement of the stars, and it's the usual kind of stuff. Angles to Polaris and all that. There's no reason for me to go through them. They're actually, I would say, not the strongest arguments for a ball Earth that are out there, and so they're old. But nothing about the verses. Every single Bible verse that's in the Bible supports flat Earth, And so this is just poor science that's at the end of these hyperlinks. Please note that our presenting a list of articles does not imply an official endorsement of the entirety of what blah, blah, blah. So why doesn't Ravi have his own material if he really believes that we're on a ball? He debates scientists all the time, and, he should have his own sort of proofs, for this spinning ball Earth. I hope this information might be helpful to you in search for the truth. May the grace and peace of God be with you. I want no grace and peace from their God, which is Satan. So I replied, thank you for your reply, Trina. I am asking sincerely as I've met Ravi a few times and he spoke at my wedding years ago. So I've interacted with him. I know more than the average person about his ministry and how it's, these are all financially motivated schemes, basically. They have to believe whatever their audience tells them to believe, which is the typical sort of old white evangelical Christian. Whatever they believe, Ravi has to spout and espouse and support. And I said, Joshua 10:12-14 proves we are not spinning. Rather, the sun and moon are both independent lights in the sky, as stated in Genesis. Also, common sense proves we are not spinning. Since people who share the gospel and are held more accountable than others, I trust Arzim will look into this further. I am an engineer, and I have seen the tests conducted using long-distance photography, laser, drones, etc., to also verify we live on a flat, non-rotating surface. The days of the Bible simply being poetic are over. God is going to visit the world that he has made very soon, and the flat earth truth reality is a precursor to that. I just posted a video on that. I'm assuming Ravi also doesn't teach that America is Mystery Babylon, modern-day Sodom and Gomorrah. We also know now that Jesus and all the prophets were dark-skinned men. Does Ravi know this? This is like rhetorical. I obviously know that he's not, and I've never seen a video of him teaching anything against, the U.S. government, central banking, and all that kind of stuff. So I know that he's an actor. I'm just sort of a little bit bored, but also just, again, getting a feel for their responses. And to me, this is, again, proof that we're in the end times, because the Christian church is sold out. They're not speaking on things that are, again, obvious. I just posted a video of a U.S. drone strike killing 30 farmers. The whole financial system is now mainstream news that they're losing control of it, and it's only to benefit a few. It's becoming obvious. And so the more these religious people cling to these satanic ideologies, the more, to me, is evidence that God is behind it, And so this is actually kind of funny. Check this out. So this is Trina Doffelmeyer on Twitter. All the moral laws in the world cannot change the human heart. And so people will read that. This is who I'm interacting with through Arzim. Will read that and will think that that's somehow deep. This is how Satan operates. This is the complete opposite of what is actually true. All the moral laws of the Bible are designed to change the human heart. That's the whole point. Without the law, we don't have sin. We don't have any guidance on what we're supposed to do. And so this is how these Satanists operate. It's like a new age sort of almost prosperity. Just, again, let God come over to dinner, but don't let him say too much, and all that kind of stuff. So I'm going to be doing a lesson this weekend for those who have an ear to hear that this is not the God of the Bible. And all I can do is present the God of the Bible the way I see him and experience him and the spirit that's dealing with me. And, it's an open invitation every week for people to learn the actual God of the Bible. And he's not going to allow this deception to carry on forever. For those who feel like lies are winning, it is by a lot, by a landslide. But we would have to have hope and faith to believe that will not carry on forever. Hope everyone's doing well. Bye.